Are you still trying to connect audio? Hey, Steve, how are you? Paul, are you good now?
I am.
Yay. Okay, awesome. I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen. Did you want to try it really quick?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll throw up a flyer for now. Coming through?
Yep, looks good.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. You
I'm
bet.
really excited. I was pleasantly surprised when I learned about this great program. So I hope that my co-partners in crime here can learn some about it as well. We'll give another couple minutes, just let everybody log in, and then we can get you going there.
Okay.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this lovely, cool November morning. We have quite a large agenda this meeting, some last minute additions. So we do have our first presentation is going to be Paul Wood from Verizon. Anne and I went to a conference in San Francisco, the Barry Wasi conference on emergency alerts. And we met the Verizon team. To be honest, I walked by it like their booth like 3 times because I was like, oh, I already use FirstNet. And then I realized when talking to them, it's actually something different that they're doing, that they are doing for free for the community to help us in disaster response. So we asked them to come and do a quick kind of talk about what they can offer. I think before that, we'll go ahead and do introductions so that Paul kind of knows who everybody is. So Paul, welcome. My name is Victoria Beebe. I am the CERT Program General Analyst for the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. This meeting is a collaboration between all of the emergency services and CERT program managers in Santa Clara County. So many of us work with CERT groups, do trainings and work with the community a lot at events and also at disaster response. So that is me. We'll just go down the line. Jennifer, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Paul. I'm Jennifer Ponce. I'm the Emergency Services Coordinator for the City of Morgan Hill, and CERT falls under me.
Okay.
Awesome. Gracie, go ahead.
Hi, Paul. Welcome. I'm Gracie Hernandez, and I'm with Santa Clara County Fire. And with Santa Clara County Fire, we have 7 jurisdictions. We service Campbell, Cupertino, Los Altos Hills, and Saratoga, so in Montecito.
Thank you.
Bob.
Hi, Paul. My name is Robert Maitland. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the City of Mountain View Fire Department. I am the program manager for the CERT program and amateur radio. Welcome to the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Kastner with the Santa Clara Fire Department. I'm a new CERT training / program manager for the program. So looking forward to the presentation.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Steve. Anne, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Not very much. Let's see here. There we go. So I'm Ann Heppenstall. I'm with City of Los Altos.
Thank you.
All right, Daniel.
Hey, good morning. Daniel Moskowitz, City of Sunnyvale. I'm the OES coordinator with DPS, our Department of Public Safety. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew, I think you're last but not least there.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for being here. Andrew Young, Emergency Services Coordinator with the City of Gilroy.
With
Great.
Gilroy, okay.
Yes, Gilroy. That's some of our team. Some of us are missing today, but we're going to be recording this and then sending it out to the rest of the troop that couldn't be here. So with further ado, I'd like to introduce Paul Wood from Verizon, and Paul, take it away.
Yep, thank you. So Paul Wood, I am the Verizon response manager. I have, and you'll see in the presentation, I have Northern California and Nevada. And I've been doing this for about 10 years. I've worked for Verizon for about 18, so I've been around a long time and have worked with various agencies. So, you know, rather than go into a lot, I'll cover it while we go through the presentation. So if I could, I'll just jump into sharing my screen. I believe it's this one. So you should see just the one slide with the helicopter.
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. So Verizon's crisis response team is a nationwide program that Verizon has operated. There we go. For a long time. It dates back clear to the Loma Prieta earthquake, the Bay Area World Series earthquake. Prior to Verizon being Verizon. back in GTE mobile days for us. It's 24/7, 365, team of dedicated Verizon employees, and it's a national structure that's facilitated. You call one number, an 800 number for assistance. It is a live support line. It's answered in Texas with a backup location in New Jersey. And what they're going to do is they're going to talk to you, find out where you're at, and they're going to try and get you through to the local person, which in this case is myself, or my manager, Curtis Mentz. Curtis works out of Walnut Creek. I work out of Folsom up near Sacramento. It is immediate response based on your request for equipment, voice and data devices. We work with our network team for network coverage. And, you know, when you call, there's 3 options really. And so option 1 gets you to us, option 2 gets you to network operations. And number 3 is for the law enforcement side support for things like missing persons. They want to get a cell dump or, you know, ping a cell phone or something like that. Or court, I guess, court-ordered subpoenas, looking for records of text messages and phone calls and stuff like that. So the law enforcement side. And it's all based on geography. So this is our team, dedicated full-time staff. This is all we do. And you'll notice I'm in the West, but we also have people in Seattle, Boise, Denver, down in Southern California, and we have a director that sits in Arizona as well. It covers the whole program. The rest of the people laid out across the country. Not important for y'all, but this is the phone number, the 800-981-9558, and 24/7, 365. What we do, we prepare for disasters, respond to disasters. We go through the recovery and we mitigate. So we do training exercises. I regularly do stuff with search and rescue teams as training. Back just when COVID was starting in February of 2020, I was out on a 3-day training exercise with Lassen and Shasta counties, their winter training at 6,000 feet, 5,500 feet elevation, 20-degree high during the day, providing them coverage and kind of working with them. So, you know, whatever it is, we will try to participate, schedule permitting. We have engagements like this one where I'm kind of letting you know what it is we do. I do a lot of device management. I'm doing a massive inventory right now and recalling devices from all the fire season support. And then the trade show, like you saw us at UASI. So, you know, when we respond, we are running out to devices based on requests, primarily in Northern California, that's wildfires, but we do have occasion for other stuff. And we fall into ESF2 communications in your ESCs and in your system. We also support shelters. We have charging stations and such for deployment. And we have what we call a WEC, or a Wireless Emergency Command Center, that is typically not needed on the West Coast because municipalities tend to have a little bit more money and they have their own mobile command centers and emergency command centers. But in some jurisdictions, we do have those available, and we see those being used a lot in the Midwest. And then obviously we are going through processes to try and figure out how can we better prepare for. What we do is nationally, we respond to government agencies, federal, state, county, local, volunteer organizations, tribal nonprofits, emergency management agencies in the private sector. Don't have to be a customer. During a fire in Lake County a few years ago, went through Middletown, the local tire shop with just a couple of employees. They lost their phone and their data, but their shop survived the fire. And the owner reached out to us, I think saw us driving through town, stopped us and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. I want to put my people back to work, but I don't have a landline phone. I don't have any data. Can you help me?" I'm not a customer. Yes, we can. And we loaned him a cell phone and a MiFi for data, and we helped him get his published landline phone forwarded to that cell phone, and put him back in business for a period of almost a month until he was able to get his data and voice restored to his business. So kind of all over the place, different things, but big to small. We deploy things based on the need. So you tell us what the mission is. We need to accomplish, A, and we will try and find a solution for it. We have ruggedized devices, both basic and smartphones. We have data devices from MiFis, which is 1 to a few, to Cradlepoint routers, which is 1 to a lot. We have Wi-Fi mesh network antennas. We have, if there's no coverage, we find ways to provide coverage. What you see in the picture is actually satellite dish that gives us about 30 megs down, 10 megs up, and we're able to hook equipment up to that can put Verizon LTE service on the air. We can also plug those into terrestrial broadband connections if you have that available. In some cases, a lot of times more with like Red Cross type stuff, Red Cross shelters. We provide connected laptops. We've provided tablets to disaster assessment teams. And, our services, basically, we come on site, we set it up, we try to solve the problem for you. We kind of, across the country, we have it all: wildfires and floods and mudslides here, earthquakes occasionally. I went to the lava flows in Hawaii on Big Island, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whenever it was. But if you get down into the Gulf, we have hurricanes, and the Midwest, we have tornadoes, pipeline failures. We responded to the San Bruno explosion. We had a similar incident back east and another one in Texas. Civil unrest from whatever it's required. And then obviously concerts, events, and training exercises. Some of the mobile assets that we deploy. What you see in the picture, the big truck with the satellite dish, is a satellite Colt. So uses satellite signal, has a pneumatic mast that goes up with antennas, and it has full-blown equipment just like a cell site inside that truck. And we're able to provide coverage to a pretty large area, basically either supplement or replace a cell site that may have been damaged. The small trailer, we refer to it internally as a spot, which is a satellite picocell on trailer, but outside it's a mobile connectivity trailer. It's small. I have quite a few of them. I use them all over the place at fire camps. In fact, I just used one down in Alameda County at Coal Canyon Regional Park, I think it is, for a missing person last week. So quick to deploy. I can set that trailer up by myself in less than an hour typically once I'm on scene. It's got a generator, equipment to put cellular signal on the air using the satellite dish, and fully self-contained. Verizon does a lot of work in preparing, and a lot of that has to do with our battery backup generator, our power strategy, our redundancy. We have a lot of towed-in generators that we are able to roll out. So things like we work with PG&E, SoCal Edison, had some stuff with NV Energy up in the Truckee Donner area this year for public safety power shutoffs, and we work with them in advance, identify the cell sites that might have an issue, and we either determine they have on-site generator, or we may need to tow a generator in, and we pre-stage assets for that purpose. We have fuel contracts with vendors so that we're kind of like a retainer fee with vendors, so that we're first on the list to get refueling for our generators and our facilities. Make sure that it never goes down. And then we have our Global Emergency Management Center, which monitors events around the world. Verizon is not just in the US. We are a worldwide company, although the wireless stuff is in the US. And we have a center that they just monitor events around the world to keep us informed, and what impacts they might have on public safety, first responders, and the community.
So what do you do with that monitoring? Do you communicate it outward, or is it for internal use?
Communicate what outward?
Well, you said the GMEC, whatever this is, the Global Emergency Management Center monitors events. Is that monitoring intelligence just for internal use, or are you sharing that externally?
Yeah, it's internal. It's internal. It's part of how we stay aware.
Early warning of where stuff might be needed. Okay.
Yep. And
Thanks.
it's pretty impressive. You know, I've been in multiple states emergency operations centers. You know, I've been in the Cal OES SOC at Rancho Cordova quite a few times. I've been in ones in Oregon, Washington, Utah, Hawaii, and our GEMC is they're pretty good. They're they're on par with what you might see at a state level, but they're tracking things internationally. So yeah, Verizon operates one of the largest transoceanic cable networks in the world, transoceanic fiber networks, and people are unaware of that, but we have a lot of operations for mainly data transport going on around the world. So when things are going on, it's good to know, and they track us, they track what's going on in communities, and down to, they get granular. I mean, they're down to where do we have employees that are at risk, where do we have employees that can help. How are our facilities, retail stores, business offices, switches, and all of our network assets, how are they, where are they in proximity to, fires burning, how far away is it from fiber that's feeding a facility? Does that facility have what kind of redundancy does it have? Our big facilities, they all have redundant paths, but potentially both could be impacted by a large event. So they track all those things. Yeah.
Paul, I have a really quick question. I think it was on the last slide, but I think that Curtis was talking about, you guys have like caches like all over of this equipment. Where's the closest one to us? Is it where you?
So we have equipment we have equipment in Walnut Creek and here in Folsom, and then down in Southern California. I mean, when you get the big assets, they're spread out at switches all over the place, but the smaller stuff, that I can basically fit in my vehicle and drive out, is mostly in Walnut Creek and Folsom for you locally. Some interesting things we've kind of done recently. We had the SCU complex, the incident command post for that for CAL FIRE was based out of the fairgrounds in Pleasanton. And on a Sunday afternoon, because we had nothing better to do, their PIO was getting 800 phone calls an hour. And I set up a 24-line call center for them at a hall at the fairgrounds on one Sunday afternoon early on. And they staffed it with CERT team. I'm like, I said, you need a call center. I can build that for you. You need to have people to answer phone calls. They said, well, we'll figure that out. They called the CERT team, and I guess in the course of, these are numbers that they told me, in the course of about 10 days, they had 3,500 volunteer hours answering phone calls from 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. And that was the CERT team that came in and staffed it. So kind of a cool thing. Not done every day, but we have that sort of thing. We have what we call a one-talk phone. And I was able to provide them with the phone number that they published as the information line, and then set up phones that had a ring down so that they could staff the phones and take calls. In San Jose, you guys had some flooding a few years ago. It took out the data to a couple of charter schools, and it was going to be, weeks, a month before they got data back. We came in and were able to set up equipment that pulled signal in from our cellular network and plugged into their existing Wi-Fi or their existing network to distribute it out over Wi-Fi and put the schools back online. Just kind of whatever it is that it takes during post CZU complex. I worked with the contract with FEMA and with the EPA, federal EPA, on the cleanup stuff that going on over at is it Big Basin Redwoods, and gave them communication for the contractor that did a lot of the remediation work out in the park. So different things all over the place, mostly run around to fire camps supporting state and federal fire camps, but other things from time to time as they come up. I have the best job in the company. I don't know if Curtis told you that, Victoria, but my job is better than his.
Ah, okay.
Well, you do get to go to the cool places, but I think you need a better travel agent on the timing.
I do. I get to go see some amazing stuff. We got to go do the U.S. Capitol Christmas tree harvest up in Six Rivers this year, back a couple weeks ago. Support that. So not all death and destruction. Sometimes we just have a little fun. Genoa, Nevada Candy Dance. I'm working with them to try and improve the data that they provide for all the hundreds of vendors, the booths for their point of sale. So fun stuff from time to time, but
very cool. Yeah, I think that's really important for a lot of us do city events and things like that, and citywide drills, and that definitely would be something that we could put in our repertoire as having the ability to call in, some Wi-Fi. I know when we were at an event a couple of months ago, we were having a hard time getting on the Wi-Fi to be able to present, some ideas and some things that we were trying to let the public know about. So that was one of the things we thought, okay, this is, a little bit tricky to kind of maneuver through. So it's good to know that. I know Curtis was like, yeah, we'll come out and we'll bring you guys a little trailer and you can have Wi-Fi. And so I think it's really good to know that there's an option for the, what we call the blue sky days, right? Not necessarily the dark gray sky. So yeah. Does anybody else have any, are you done with your presentation, Paul? Are you ready to take some questions? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Slide. Okay. Well, that's a really pretty picture. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? Andrew, go ahead.
In regards to the deployable assets for the cows, do most of those run off of satellites, or do they need to be actually plugged into a hardwire fiber optic system? Because I know we've had some issues in South County where we've had fiber optic lines cut, and they've tried to bring in those kind of deployable assets, but then they didn't work.
Yeah, so the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Typically, if we deploy one of the big assets, a cow or a colt, which is a cell on wheels, which is trailer based, or a cell on light truck, we would like to backhaul them with fiber. That takes time to set up, and it has to be available. If that's not available, we would like to use microwave. Sometimes that's not feasible because of terrain. And the reason for that is that the amount of data it takes to support a lot of people over cellular, it's massive. And you just can't get that kind of data capacity over satellite. So our preference is fiber backed up by microwave, and then satellite is the last resort. And that's simply, by the time we get to satellite, hopefully it's an evacuated area. The only people that are in the area that would be using it are first responders, because while it works, it's not, it's not downtown speeds. It's not 100 megabyte, 200 megabyte capacities. It's smaller. And so we have to kind of balance out, what are we trying to accomplish versus what do we have available to us to put into place. So some of our stuff, we've started converting more of it over to have satellite capability. My little spot trailers, they all, the whole function of them is satellite based. Although I had a couple of occasions this year where I rolled them out to remote fire camps, and they had gig circuits run into them, and I was able to just plug that in and provide a lot more backhaul than I could over the small satellite link. But it all depends. It all depends on what's available.
Got it. Thank you for that that information. And then the other question, and it may have been answered already, in regards to other service providers such as AT&T, do these towers have the capability to provide services for other providers?
So if we put cellular on the air, it's only Verizon. And that's because we're licensed to broadcast Verizon. We're not licensed to broadcast AT&T, T-Mobile frequencies. We are able to do things. Sometimes I put Wi-Fi. Some of my equipment, I can put Wi-Fi on the air, in which case anybody can use Wi-Fi calling if they have the capability. So that kind of gets us across multiple carrier
Perfect. Thank you.
issues there. Yeah.
So I'd like to get a copy of the presentation to share, but I notice it all says Verizon proprietary. Is that a footer you can take off and information you'd be able to send me that I can share internally?
Yeah, the presentation itself is not something we typically share. I do have a flyer that I can get to you guys.
Oh, okay. It's probably the flyer I picked up at the conference last week, so I probably have that.
With that one?
And the URL. But this is lovely because I can show the police captain, oh, these are all the capabilities that they have.
Is there something maybe online that you have, like a forward-facing public information on this that we could look at too? I would like the flyer because it was only Ann and I that's on this call that were at the conference, so I'm sure that the rest of them would love to have that. But
yep.
Yeah,
okay.
Something like this, right? Okay.
Yep. So I'll share a copy of this flyer with you, and yes, you can go to this web address here down at the bottom, and there's more information there.
Great.
It typically doesn't go into quite as much information as we do in a presentation, but yeah, so I'll send it out to you and let you distribute it, the flyer.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love that. Awesome. Anybody else have any more questions? Okay, awesome. Paul, thank you
All right.
so much. That was awesome.
bet.
And I think
We'll be reaching out. I already have some ideas for you, so look forward to it.
Okay. Look
yeah,
forward
I really,
to it.
really appreciate it. Thank you for the last minute jumping in. Yeah, I look forward to getting the flyer from you.
You bet. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
thank you
time,
very
everyone.
much. Very good
Awesome. Thanks,
presentation.
Paul. Take care. Have a good
Have a
rest of your
great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Next up, another, I guess, vendor that Ann and I ran into. I know we're all trying to look at, damage assessment online, and there's some companies out there that have some platforms that, we wanted to kind of share with you guys. So we have over the next couple of months, well, I should say, I think we're going to skip the December meeting if you're all okay with that, because December 22nd is kind of, yeah, a little too close to the fun times. So we'll give you guys a break on that. But in January and February, we're going to be kind of looking at different models and different offerings that you can look at for your program in terms of tracking and damage assessment going into the digital realm versus paper. So I know a lot of the conferences that we've gone to and that I've saw, there's a big push for that just because it's just a lot easier to maintain. You can get the digital record keeping, and some of that stuff is public record, need to have, things like that. So we have Mark Demske from VOC, and he's going to do a presentation on something they offer in terms of volunteer management for CERT. So Mark, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thank you. So how are y'all doing? Y'all having a good day? Hopefully, yes. So my name is Mark Demske. I work for VOC now. My background, real quick as we get started, is that I am an emergency manager, retired. I started out very young at the age of 16 as a volunteer fire and EMS person in Maryland, my hometown. My first real job, I was a cop for 5 years, deputy sheriff, and then I went to become a career paramedic for Baltimore City first, and then Baltimore County for 25 years. I retired from Baltimore County. My last 8 years there in the county, I was the emergency manager. One of my duties was that I taught CERT. Taught several programs, taught EMT and paramedic, but CERT was a very successful program. We actually changed the name from CERT to Neighbors Helping Neighbors, just as an FYI, because CERT, as you probably are aware, was really developed for California because of the earthquakes and possibility of severe earthquakes. So it really didn't fit everything that we wanted in Maryland or Baltimore area. So we changed it to Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So our volunteers were actually helping within their neighborhoods and so forth. I did work for a competitor for a few years, came over to VOC about 4 years ago. So one of the programs that's been very successful with VOC, I cover government sales for about 65% of the country, but is our CERT solution, citizen emergency response teams. And Alameda City of Alameda has become one of our largest supporters of that CERT program. And Sharon Oliver, Captain Oliver of the Alameda City Fire Department, conducted a webinar for us about 2 years ago. And this webinar that we're getting ready to show you will really give you a lot of background on how Sharon has used it across the city of Alameda, rolled it out. It's very easy to use. It's run by whoever is going to run your program, administer your program, but your volunteers each would have access to certain features within the system, primarily information sharing, damage assessment, receiving notifications, phone call, text, emails, and so forth, check-ins, and lots of other things. So we're going to show you this webinar. Also, Palo Alto near you is actively using the CERT solution, along with City of Hayward, California, and I believe it could be Pleasanton or Livermore is also using it up in towards your area. But with that, go ahead and show the webinar.
The City of Alameda has organized by using groups and rooms within the groups. We have given a group to each department in our city, as you can see here. This allows us security between groups by restricting who has access to a group or room within the group. The CERT group has several rooms. The basic CERT is for managing course registration and attendance. Only the CERT assistant and myself have access to this room. The volunteer management room is where all our active CERT members can interact with us. And the ASIC sandbox is where CERT Executive Committee conducts business. We also have launched plans for events, which is where we conduct planning for those events. The basic CERT room is where the public submission of the registration workflow lands. We then accept the student into the class. We have a tile on the dashboard for this year's registration, as well as a tile for past years where the student still needs to complete one or more of the classes to finish the program. So we can see the various entries. We'll just click over here to we'll go incognito, we'll click over to the public-facing dashboard. The volunteer management room has a public-facing dashboard which you can look at by going to alamedacert.org. One of the things you will find here is a link to the basic CERT registration workflow. When someone from the public clicks on the link, they will find the course schedule. They will select the course from the drop-down and fill out their personal information. Their entry will land in the basic management or the basic CERT course room, and their entry will be accepted, most likely. So we would accept it. There's nothing in there right now, but we would accept them into the course up in this area, and they would wind up in this year's course registrations. Now I'm going to show you the workflow. Okay, here we have the workflow. The course dates are just a label. We change those dates each year. The first step in the workflow is the public registration form. The second step has the courses as a subform, which is, how we track their attendance. And the third step is where we put the completion date. And here we have where we keep their attendance. If they don't complete the course all at one time, we can actually even change the date. Once they complete all the classes, we note the completion date, and it actually imports their information over into the volunteer management room, where they become, once they complete, they become active. They start out as an inactive member when they register, and then once we create a completion date, they become an active member. Okay, let's leave this. Okay, over here is where the basic registration goes, and we can sort this by the course, by what course they're in and the year. This is how we export the information over to a roll sheet. Okay. Oh, okay, let's look at the volunteer management room. Here's our public-facing dashboard. Notice the little world. And so once the folks are finished with their CERT, they come into this room. We add them as a user so that they can interact with us. So here in the cockpit, under the members, you will see all our members. We have over 300. So we use this room to send emails to our folks. I'm going to see if I can find an email for you here. They're able to interact with us. Here's an email. You might notice that people have also responded to the thread. It says help wanted for the all hands meeting. So they're able to interact. We've sent them an email. They can respond via email or come into the room and use the thread. Here's another one for a class that's coming up. People have interacted with us there. It's best practice to always name your thread so that you can find it at a later date. You definitely want to name the emails you've sent out. Okay, let's look at the simple form we use to keep track of our volunteers' information. This view is filtered out so we don't give away any personal information, but we keep track of all kinds of things. We have all our members here. We actually filter, so we're just looking at the active members. We have their districts. We have their willingness to be on a call-out team. And if I search here for, let's see, we'll search here for Fred Flintstone, the famous Fred Flintstone. And here you can see if somebody has been sworn in as a disaster service worker, they also have a picture. So that helps us put a name to a face. So if you open it up, we can see all of Fred's skills, his leadership, up to including whether he has a driver's license on file with us or has had a background check, things like that. So if we open this up a little further with the Edit button, we should be able to see, let's open this up. We should be able to see all the different things that we could check on. So of course their name, their address, their apartment, their phone numbers, ham radio call sign is there. We also have one of the very important features is this active or inactive. Because when we inactivate somebody, they don't go away, they just don't show up in our list. We have them filtered out. You can see here the call out team, if they were interested in that, whether or not they have leadership skills that they're approved for, whether or not they can drive or tow our mobile vehicles, if they're a trainer, things like that. So we keep everything about this person in here. You can see there's a place to enter a driver's license right here. And if you scroll down further, you can see we put a copy of their disaster service worker form in, which is important to us, just a scanned copy. And then any notes we'd like to put about them, and then did they go through a background check. We have a portion of our folks go through the background check, but not necessarily all of them. When we use this simple form as a resource form, all this information here attached to the person, there's a thing called references. If we had used this simple form as a reference in another form or workflow, the relationship would show up here. So that can be handy as well. Okay, once again, that's our simple form. Okay, here's our calendar. We notify our members of the events. The yellow is the ham radio, blue is basic CERT, green is our CERT executive committee, and over here we have turquoise, which is something you can register for, continuing education class. Once you open it, you can get all the information about the class, the location, the description, things like that. And then up here is a little registration button. So people go in, they click on the event, click register. It auto-populates their name. Because I'm signed in, it put my name. And then all they have to do is hit the submit button. Very simple. We're able then to get a roll sheet because it's associated. Okay, so we have, going through the year, we add these classes as they come up and let people know about them. Okay, here's our map. We have the overlays. Right now what you see is the CERT districts and the rally points. So people know what district they're in. We also let them know about that. We can unclick the layers to get rid of those things on the map. We can also go into the volunteer list. Now, this isn't available to everybody, just our executive committee members and myself. We have our little logo. If you click on that person, they come up and their information's in here. I blurred it out so that you cannot see everything about them, all their particulars, what teams they're on, things like that. And that's the way the maps generally work. You can put information on a point. So those are all ours. Where you see the number 2, it means there's more than one person at that point. Okay. So here is our admin group, and we also use plans. So plans are predetermined. We have one for events that we use, like our incident action planning. So here's where you build it out and you put all the particulars in, who's going to get notified. Plans can send text messages, email, and call. So I'm going to set up in a drill mode silently, because I don't want it to call my people, a little demonstration of a plan. So when we launch a plan, if it's not silent, it calls our CERT ICs. The CERT ICs are then notified. So you'll see as I launch it, date and time. So these are reusable again and again. That's why they're so nice. Okay, it's building out the room, just the way you set it up. We're going to join the room. So the rooms look like any other room. There's not a lot in it. But this is where we would put all the things about the incident or the recall. We have all our members in this room because this is a non-restricted room, meaning that anybody in the group can access the room. But when we get a call out, we then have our CERT ICs select either from the day or the nighttime opt-ins, and that picks up from a contact list. We ask them to respond, we can put information in, and then we would notify them of an activation through this method. So as long as we have a CERT IC, they then activate the opt-ins. And they'd hit send, and it would call them and text them and send an email. In these, in the chat box, we would put what was going on, where was the rally point. We often look for missing persons, such as people with Alzheimer's or kids. So it is a safe environment. We would put all the information into the chat box, and the members could see it. Now, any CERT member could see what was going on in the room, and that's fine if they wanted to come out, but they won't know it's there because they won't personally be notified unless they're in one of the 2 opt-in groups, which is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So we hit send, we put information in, up to including pictures. Over in the dashboard, we can add more information. We can see who's responded to the call-in in that little box I have blurred out. We also have a weather map, because that can be important. All right, back to our chat room, or to our map, excuse me, back to our map. So this is where we have layers. Now the intention is to set up the area of search. So our incident commander or their assistant would pick the area that they were searching and be able to assign teams so that anyone who was in the room would know the area that we were working in for the search. So here I'm setting up an area of search, and it could be bigger or smaller. I could put additional information in the chat box. I can name it. We can add all kinds of things into that. Little demonstration here. And that allows our members to have a real good visual view. Now you can see these things on the app as well as on the computer. So the app is really critical to working in the field. Go back to the home button. I'm an admin, so I can see all these things. Now the other important thing to notice is we make the box red. That's the virtual room. Red draws your eye in. So if people have all of our members have at least one room. They have the CERT Volunteer Management Room, and then when we activate a call out, they'll see a green box and a red box, so that draws them in immediately. Okay, as you can see, we have other rooms in here, including events. We also have a launch pad for activating our plan. And we have our CERT Executive Committee room. This is made up of volunteers who assist with everything after graduation. So we send emails out of this room, we communicate about training, planning for events, things like that. We have this dashboard that's very handy. It's sorted by districts. If you notice, no entry means that we didn't have an address for that person. We have our opt-ins for day and night. We have our volunteer hours. This is a total since we've been using VOCI. We have many more volunteer hours than this, but it's always exciting to see how much people are doing. We have our 2018 volunteer hours. We have our 2019 volunteer hours, and that's growing every day. We also keep our receipts and our income. So we have the 2018 and 2019 receipts. If you click on this, we have it sorted by topic, by category. And we also include a copy of the receipt. So everybody in the executive committee can see what we're spending our money on. So if I click on one of these receipts, you'll see we just added it. You can add it via scanning it and attaching it, or you can also use the app to take a picture directly into the program. So when you come on back here to the dashboard, each one of these areas is actually just a sorted view from the simple form. So if I click on it, these are our active members. Right now I'm just showing you their first name. But our executive committee members can get to the full information of our members. Our executive committee is background checked, as I said. So you can see the color in the background is actually their district, and that's very useful to be able to get to that. We do organize by district. So back to the dashboard. Once again, everything is related to that simple form with our member information. The day and the nighttime call out is a simple checkbox. Even the volunteer hours are related to the simple form, to the member's name. So that's how we pick up these hours. When we associate them with an event or participation, it gets logged here. Okay, so just to recap, Alameda CERT Volunteer Management is the group. It's a restricted group, so only those folks who are allowed in can go in. Within that group, we have the CERT Volunteer Management Room, which is where all our active members are placed in that room where they can interact. We send out emails through that room, and we keep track of participation in activities. We have the calendar there. People can register for a class through a workflow, and it associates to their name. So we keep the member form, which has all active and inactive members. We simply sort out the inactive members. Then we add them to our room to communicate. The simple form also holds all the member information, qualifications, interest, approval to be an IC, drive, access city vehicles and buildings, DSW information, and ID pictures. Then we also have what we use for call-outs, which are plans. They're pre-plans. So we have a plan for the CERT call-outs. We also have a pre-plan for exercises and event planning. So that's how we would do all our event planning. So these plans can be activated over and over again. You activate a plan. You use the plan until you're complete, and then you archive it for your records. So CERT callouts are create a room that is unrestricted, which allows any of our CERT members to join that room. But the plan also has functionality in the background which calls our CERT incident commanders. Once they get there, they activate our CERT members. Now any member, because it's an unrestricted room that gets created out of this plan, can access and see what's going on in that room, but they are not notified of the activation. So you can see that VOCHI has really made managing our volunteers much easier through restricted groups and rooms to forms and workflows that help us manage all the things that our members do. So from simple forms to plans, we feel like we are managing our CERT volunteers better than we ever have in the past. So that's the conclusion of my presentation. I'm going to, on the next slide, put my information. So if you have any questions or you'd like to contact me, I'm happy to talk to you about how we manage and we continue to grow and find new uses for VOCHI throughout our city and our CERT organization. So thank you for listening to the presentation.
Hey, so what did you all think? Did you like what Alameda has?
Yeah, it's interesting to see it being put into action, because a lot of times we just kind of hear an overview of programs. I know that for us, we are looking for some way to easier manage our people, and I think that's got some really good features that would be helpful. I have a question. It showed she kind of showed how the map had a map of the certs who were responding to like a call out or an activation. How much does that continue over the course of an event? Like, let's say that you activated them, they came in. Could you use that then to track them as they go through the event of the activation?
Well, if they have the geocoder on their phone and they're actively had the VOC application, they could do snapshots and it's going to pick up where they are, like for damage assessment and so forth. We don't have the feature currently that will live track them as they move.
Okay.
That could be coming, but there's been a lot of pushback on that for privacy reasons. But but again, with their devices, they can track where they are for your geocoding for your damage assessment, for example.
Great. Okay. And is there any reporting features for damage assessment through that app?
Yes, you would. We would use your form. We have an existing form, damage assessment form, but you could basically create any type of form that you want to. Maybe again, you guys are unique to what you want to capture. So yes, that would be on their devices. They would download that, install that, and even if they do lose internet capabilities, that information will be stored. Once they reach the internet, it would upload into the system.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions for Mark?
We'll conduct a CERT demo, I believe, for you, maybe within the next few months. But a lot of what Sharon has there, she has built out herself on top of the standard volunteer management solution. Sharon is very talented. One of the cool things with our product is that we are not code based. We're not HTML based like some of the older legacy products. So that allows you all to build out your own workflows and forms, because we are point and click and drag, and not HTML based. So Sharon has done tremendous amount of work and really built that system with that. A lot of what she's built, I'm sure, again, if you all were to come on board using that she would share a lot of what she's built with you. So again, that's what's cool. Also, you can share information back and forth among other users. But so again, Sharon's done a lot. I guess maybe January or so, we'll look at conducting maybe a demonstration of the product with one of the technology people on my side. Again, I'm an operations guy, so I could not be showing you piece by piece, but we have our team there that could do that. And our person who heads that up is actually off on Tuesday. She has a newborn at home, so she's takes one day off a week to take care of her newborn. But so that's kind of an idea of what VOC is about for volunteer management. We are speaking to several of your jurisdictions now regarding using us for active use for incident management EOC software.
Great. Well, thank you very much. No questions from the group? All right, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on last minute and presenting to us, and we really appreciate it. I'll be sending out this recording so that the rest of the group can watch it, and then we can touch base, Mark, about doing that in January. That'd be awesome.
That sounds great. And to all of you all, have a great Thanksgiving coming up next week. Happy holidays. And again, I live here in Tennessee, so we have the full fall foliage at this point. So wishing you all a nice fall weather if you all see that up in your part of California.
Great. Thank you so much. Take care,
Take care.
Mark.
Bye-bye.
Have a good rest of your
Welcome.
day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So it sounds like Mark, so when we were there, Jeff Walker was there, and I think they're going to be looking at this as a potential for a platform for the OES. So just FYI on that, I just thought it would be interesting, you know, if they do go with that, we have a little bit of a background on what that is. What do you guys think of the two presentations today? Not everybody talk at once. Too much going on. I can't get a word in edgewise.
Thank you for providing the presentations. They were good.
Yeah, very informative.
Okay, do you guys find this helpful at all? I mean, am I going a wrong direction that you're not interested in seeing? I mean, I don't want to take up time, but I'm finding these really cool things at these events and going, you know, if we decide not to do it, great, or if you're not interested, great, but at least you have the opportunity to see it and kind of understand there's more out there than just, you know, a couple different little platforms. There's a lot of work going on, especially when it comes to, you know, digitizing things and damage assessment forms online and things like that, you know, and it would be great if we found one that kind of worked for everybody. This one's a cost, but I'm looking into as much as I can for like the free versions of things. So, you know, that is also something that I know Ann and I are looking at. We think we found something, but I want them to come to the presentation because I'll just butcher how I explain it. But it's a grant that was given through Cal OES that's good for 8 years and was just started in 2020. Have you guys heard of CalCop? Yeah, so I guess there's a whole CERT component now that they've been working with Cal OES on. So I'm hoping to get them to come and talk because it is a grant that's already been approved and it's good for 8 years. And he said it would be through 2028. And then if people are using that, they'll keep on redoing it. So I think that'd be beneficial for us to look at too, right? I mean, to me, you know, free's better, right? Because we all have pretty strict budgets, but I think just kind of looking at these different programs is beneficial. But again, I don't want to take up time if you guys are not thinking it's beneficial. So I just kind of wanted some feedback on that. It sounds like we can keep going with some of these just to kind of get some ideas. The Verizon thing was awesome. And what he left out too, I kind of last minute. So a lot of these guys are not the normal like sales dudes, as you can tell. They're just kind of like, dope, dope. But when I talked to them at Verizon, so what they didn't say was they'll bring out phones. So I know Andrew brought up, you know, if we're using a different network of phones, Andrew, they have caches of phones that they bring out and they actually have them already labeled for different IC positions. So if you were to need to activate them and use them for an EOC or even for your certs, they already have that like all staged and ready to go. Yeah, and I wish he would have said that because that's something that that they were talking to us about. So there is more involved in some of these, but I'll send out some more information. They do have a Verizon card that they gave us at the event, basically the crisis line. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you guys. So that way you have it in case you want to utilize it. And I think what I'm going to do in the next 6 months or so is to get them to come out to something that I'm going to do, because we definitely have a Wi-Fi issue up in the hills. And I'm going to have them come out and kind of put them through a little bit of a demo and see how that looks. So I'd be happy to report back to the group kind of how that worked and if there's any challenges or best practices that we learned. I know I've kept you 6 minutes over. I'm sorry. Are you guys cool with not doing the meeting next month?
Sure.
if you really want to, I can do it. It's just kind of close to Christmas and I didn't want to bog anyone down with stuff. So just shoot me an email if you think like, hey, no, let's do it. That's totally fine. I can do it. And then does anyone have any updates for us? Oh, Jennifer, I'm sorry. That I've got my agenda, but I never quite put it up.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to let everybody know that the annual CERT conference has been moved to the week of August 14th in 2022, and it'll be in Galveston, Texas. And I mentioned to Victoria that I'm happy to be the person that kind of keeps an eye on, you know, the conference. Apparently their original date, there are some other emergency management conferences in that area. And I do not believe we can get funding from EMPG to attend anymore. So
Yeah.
that's my update, and I'll keep y'all posted.
Okay, I think that we'll last update Jennifer and Tony and I were planning on trying to get there. I think I was almost to getting Bob to go. I don't know now that the new date came out.
He's afraid of Texas.
Oh, who?
There's lots of good breweries there and lots of good barbecue. I mean,
You can go see
I'm-
Liz.
I'm gonna go for sure.
yeah,
It's
I'm gonna
hot
go-
in Texas in August. It's hot.
Yeah, it's gonna be. You're in air conditioning all day, Bob. Trust me, you're in air conditioning. If we get in the hotel, we never have to leave it.
Don't make me lie to you and say I'm going to look into it.
I'm hoping to go too. So.
Yeah, Galveston, you guys, we'll have fun.
Well, if Dan's going,
Oh, I see now. Okay, you were afraid you were gonna be the Lone Ranger, huh?
yeah, I guess Texas Ranger. Yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
guys, I'm cutting off.
All right, guys. Well, if
Bye.
anyone has any updates, just email me and I'll email it out.
Sounds good.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you,
you,
Victoria.
bye.
Great. Thank you for all the meetings. Thank you for having everybody. It was good resources, good awareness.
Agreed.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thanks, Steve. You guys take care of yourselves.
All right. See ya.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.